They said Jacob Zuma would never pay. That no matter what happened, he would always find a way to avoid accountability, that the money would always come from somewhere else. For years, this belief seemed unshakable. Zuma, the man who once ruled South Africa with charm and controversy, always found a way to sidestep the consequences of his actions. But this time, something changed. This week, the Pretoria High Court handed down a judgment that Zuma had managed to escape for years, a financial reckoning. Judge Anthony Miller ruled that Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma must personally repay every cent of the R28.9 million in public funds that were unlawfully used to finance his private legal battles. Not a portion, not a token repayment, but the entire amount, R28,960, 774.34, plus interest. That number now hangs over Zuma's head like an unavoidable shadow, a debt owed not to a creditor or a political rival, but to the very state he once led. The judgment was unequivocal. Zuma has 60 days to settle the amount. If he fails to do so, the court has empowered the sheriff to enforce the order by seizing his assets, his homes, vehicles, properties, and even his presidential pension. The irony is staggering. Zuma's taxpayer-funded pension could be used to repay the taxpayers for the money he misused. For years, Zuma constructed an elaborate fortress of legal cases, all funded by public money and defended by state attorneys, while publicly portraying himself as a victim of political persecution. But the fortress has finally cracked, and the bill has arrived. To understand the magnitude of this moment, one must rewind to the years between 2005 and 2018. During that period, Zuma was entangled in a web of legal battles, corruption charges, defamation cases, appeals, reviews, and countless procedural delays. Virtually all of these were funded by the state. The justification at the time was that these cases arose from his official duties as president or deputy president. Yet most of them had nothing to do with his responsibilities in office. They were, instead, attempts to shield himself from accountability for corruption and misconduct. Over the years, the total amount spent ballooned to nearly R30 million, taxpayer money spent defending a man accused of looting the very institutions he once swore to protect. The Pretoria High Court's judgment is more than a financial decision, it is symbolic. In a nation where corruption has hollowed out public trust and weakened key institutions, the image of Jacob Zuma being compelled to repay millions of rands is profoundly significant. It represents a turning point, a rare instance of the legal system asserting that no one, not even a former president, is above the law. The ruling goes beyond ordering repayment, it also mandates that the state attorney, the same office that once defended Zuma's unlawful use of public funds, must now take active steps to recover the money. Judge Miller's order is meticulous, even requiring the state attorney to file progress reports every 3 months, detailing the actions taken to reclaim the funds until the entire debt is settled. The message is unmistakable: this time, there will be no endless delays, no political shields, and no procedural loopholes to hide behind. For the first time, Zuma faces a consequence that cannot be spun as political persecution. The order is financial, and the numbers are not open to interpretation. Zuma owes the state R28.9 million. If he fails to pay, the sheriff will execute the order by attaching his assets. His once mighty political machinery, which for decades insulated him from the reach of the law, has disintegrated. His allies are scattered, the African National Congress is fractured, and his new political outfit, the Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK, party, lacks the institutional power to protect him from the courts. Zuma's influence, once a towering force in South African politics, has faded into the background. The judgment raises a sobering question: how did South Africa allow this to happen in the first place? How could a sitting president use public funds to defend himself against corruption charges for over a decade without meaningful oversight? The R28.9 million did not vanish into thin air. It was approved, processed, and paid by officials following directives that were clearly unlawful. Many of those officials still occupy government positions today, untouched by accountability. Zuma's legal costs were treated as a legitimate state expense, as though his personal corruption charges were somehow matters of governance. The absurdity is breathtaking. Taxpayers financed the defense of the man accused of robbing the state, paying for the very litigation that obstructed justice against him. Every delay, every appeal, every procedural maneuver that Zuma used to stall his corruption trials was funded with public money. This R28.9 million bought him time to manipulate the system, time to weaken his opponents, and time to test the patience of the courts. In Zuma's world, time was the most powerful weapon. But time, inevitably, runs out. The High Court's latest order is the moment when time finally caught up with him. Judge Miller's ruling leaves no ambiguity. Zuma must pay within 60 days, or his property will be seized and sold. The sheriff of the court will act without sentiment. Political legacy, liberation credentials, or historical reverence will offer no protection. The same state that once bent to Zuma's will now stands ready to reclaim what was wrongfully taken. This development carries a deeper message. It is a warning to every public official who imagines that political connections can indefinitely shield them from the consequences of corruption. The judgment declares that no rank, no struggle history, no revolutionary credentials can protect those who misuse public funds. Pay back the money has long been a slogan in South African politics, a rallying cry for accountability. Today, it has become a legal reality. Zuma's story has always been entangled with money. From the notorious arms deal scandal in the early 2000s to the Nkandla upgrades, from the Gupta family state capture to endless corruption allegations, the theme remains constant: money that was not his, diverted for personal benefit. The R28.9 million in question was just another chapter in that saga. Funds that should have been spent on roads, clinics, housing, and services for ordinary citizens were instead funneled into Zuma's personal defense fund, buying him years of legal maneuvering and public deception. Now, the man who once made the entire nation pay for his battles must finally pay the price himself. Still, it would be naive to assume this is the end of the story. Zuma has built an entire political career on using the courts as a battlefield. He can still apply for a stay of execution, he can appeal, and he can drag out the process as long as possible. He knows the system and its weaknesses better than anyone. But the crucial difference this time is that he no longer holds power. The legal system he once manipulated is now free from his influence. His political weight is diminished, his networks fractured, and his credibility in tatters. The court's decision is not political, it is financial, administrative, and unambiguous. Numbers do not negotiate, and the arithmetic of justice has finally caught up to him. Whether the money will actually be recovered, however, remains uncertain. South Africans have reason to be skeptical. The state has a long history of bold court victories followed by timid enforcement. Orders are granted, press conferences are held, and then the process dissolves into silence, reports, delays, and bureaucratic inertia until the public loses interest. Judge Miller appears to have anticipated this, which is why his ruling includes the requirement for quarterly progress updates. It is an attempt to ensure that the state attorney's office does not quietly let the matter die. The court has not only ordered repayment but also accountability for enforcement. And yet, even this decisive ruling feels bittersweet. The R28.9 million, while significant, is only a drop in the vast ocean of losses South Africa suffered under Zuma's presidency. State capture drained the nation of billions, hollowed out institutions, and crippled state-owned enterprises. Those billions will likely never be recovered. In that sense, this judgment is more symbolic than restorative. It cannot reverse the years of damage, but it can signal a shift in moral and legal accountability. It demonstrates that the courts still have the capacity to strike back, that the rule of law, though bruised and battered, still stands. For a nation weary of impunity, this judgment offers a glimmer of hope. It shows that power does not erase debt, that even those who once sat atop the political hierarchy are not immune to consequence. It is a reminder that the bill for corruption always comes due, even if it takes decades. Zuma's political legacy was built on resistance, to the courts, to journalists, to oversight. But there is one thing that cannot be resisted indefinitely: debt. Debt does not care for politics, ideology, or legacy. It is cold, precise, and relentless. Now, after years of evasion and deflection, Zuma faces the same reality as every ordinary South African: when you owe money, you must pay. The court has spoken, the sheriff stands ready, and the nation is watching. This moment transcends the man himself. It is about what he represents: the arrogance of power, the culture of impunity, the audacity of corruption. For the first time, that arrogance carries a tangible price tag, at 28,960, 774.34. It is not just a number, it is the cost of believing oneself untouchable. It is the price of thinking you are above the people, above the law, and above accountability. And for Jacob Zuma, that price is finally due.